The following presentation was recorded live in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania for the 22nd Annual International Association of Square Dance Callers. This is tape number 21, Showmanship.
It is what we can do with showmanship. Maybe you can take some of those ideas and use them for yourself. We got some well-qualified guys up here to give you their viewpoint. Sitting next to me is Jerry Helt from Cincinnati, Ohio. Jerry's been doing this since back in the 40s, so he's probably got a big collection of information that he could pass out to you. Down on the end there, probably the youngest at the table. In fact, I know he's the youngest.
You can be my father.
This is not part of the showmanship. I think those of you who were at the dance last night, you got just a little bit of his demonstration what he can do. Richard Bjork from Örebro, Sweden. We just want to take a little bit of your time and get into one aspect of our calling. You've probably heard in the other seminars a lot of things on the choreography. You've heard things on timing, on body flow, how to make it successful. This is probably the area of our business that can be the most difficult. If we don't have the ability just there that we were born with or whatever, then we have to go out and really learn this. The showmanship usually gets categorized into different areas. Either you're doing choreographic showmanship, working with the figures, or you're doing musical showmanship, your selection of music, or theatrical showmanship, where you get up and you have your hats and you have props and things on the stage that you use. These guys are going to get into some of these different areas. I think you can probably guess where Richard's going to go. If I'm the father, what are you? But I'm going to turn the mic over to Jerry right now and let him get his over with.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I would like to put on a different hat or a mask or whatever, and I'd like to put my name tag on. And I'm going to do a session right now on show-offmanship. You know show-offs in square dancing? Ready for this? Are you ready for this? Okay. My name is Donald Ding-a-ling, but you can call me Donnie. I'm the world's greatest square dance caller. I know 200 singing calls if I read them. And I'm working on my patter. It's getting better. And this morning when I was flossing my teeth, I had a feeling it's a little bit loose. And I'm having a little bit of gas problem, but I'm getting over that. And I know you want to know me personally. I'm sure you want to know that. About what I did last week and what I did this week and so forth and so on. And I'm sure that a lot of people here have met that caller, Donnie Ding-a-ling. Have anybody here ever meet Donnie Ding-a-ling? Well, you just met him. Let's talk about Donald Ding-a-ling for a minute. Let's talk about the good side of Donald Ding-a-ling, what Donald Ding-a-ling really should do. If we look at good old Webster in his dictionary, it says showmanship, a person having a flair for dramatic or visual effects. A person who is skilled at this or at presenting anything in an interesting or dramatic way. That's not bad. Looking at a caller, you don't really look at a caller. You hear a caller. Some callers wear hats and all that they were talking about. Really, the dancer is not looking at the caller at all times, but the dancer is hearing the caller. So we verbally communicate. We verbally do showmanship, if you want to call it that. It is verbal showmanship. By saying certain words, by baiting the trap, so to speak. For example, I defy this group right now to stop thinking about buffaloes for the next 5 minutes. Anybody want to take me on that? Okay? So I planted a seed. I planted seeds out here. I have to come back and water those seeds every once in a while. And the buffalo wings were good the other night, weren't they? Not bad. Okay? So within a group, you have a psychological thing going, which there's kind of a close parallel with programming, showmanship, a psychological thing with people, handling a group of people. Square dancing is ideal for this, with the music, with the dance, with the things that we do. When a group of people walk in a door, when we walked in today, we had individual feelings, individual emotions. It's up to a caller, and in his verbal things and in his actions, to mold this group into a mass personality and then play with that personality. I did that with the little buffalo thing here, okay? We molded each other. We're kind of thinking in the same lines. That's showmanship. And there's a gray line here of whether it's showmanship, whether it's programming, what is it, okay? Any caller should present himself personally, well-groomed, clean, nice, and very positive. If you're dealing with people, you must be positive. It's very easy to get thrown off the track by somebody coming up and saying, "It's a pretty lousy dance tonight. You've done better." And if you let that get to you, it'll eat on you, and your showmanship will go sour on you. You don't want that to happen. You want to be very up and positive about what you're doing. Okay? Going down this list, music is a vital part of our activity. It's a vital part of mooding a crowd, using different moods within a crowd. When you're looking at your program during the course of the evening, I would suggest setting up your recordings, your records, so you have the beginning of the evening, your voice, you're breaking in your voice for the evening. Use something that doesn't take a lot of the nice mellow tones and high pitches and so forth. Play it easy. It's like making love, folks. You've got to have a little foreplay. That first part of the evening is foreplay with that group. As the evening gets on, your voice gets a little better and you feel more comfortable and you've got the sound set up and all that's good for you at that point. That's the time to use some of your nice melodic things. Maybe your exciting pieces of music or an exciting call for those people. As the evening winds down, you're going to find you're going to lose some of your voice. You're going to lose some of the mellow tones. So gear your music in that way so you're not really straining your voice at the end of the evening to try to get the mellow tones. So with that music, you're playing with the people. You're using that music as showmanship. Also, choreography, of which I think we'll get into that. Both these guys are going to get into that one. Recognition of people that are there. Recognition. Recognizing a birthday, an anniversary, a visiting caller, a visiting dignitary. Always nice to recognize those people. I went to a nightclub once upon a time in Hawaii. Don Ho. Does that ring a bell with anybody? Yeah. Don who? Don Ho. Okay. And it was a typical nightclub setup with tables and everything, and there was a dinner involved. And there was a table kind of up in front of the stage. And Don Ho comes out with, after the dinner and gave his entrance and got up to sing. And, everybody is just into this. All of a sudden, he stopped everything. He walked down off the stage to this front table, and they were kind of leaning over the back of their chairs trying to see the show. And he arranged all those people so they could see the show, and he got back up and went on with his thing. And I thought, now, wasn't that neat? He does that every night. Every night he does that. That's showmanship. Yeah. He helped those people, and I'm sure those people thought he was the greatest thing since sliced bread, and walked away and said, God, he's a good entertainer. And he is. That's showmanship. Yes. Making people feel comfortable and feeling at home. Okay? Many callers will, and I see this, and it kind of worries me a little bit, will come into the hall, set up the sound, get everything ready, and just hang around on the stage while people are coming in the door. It is nice, and if you can do it, go to the entrance of the hall when people come in and greet those people and have a good, positive comment for people. Like, gosh, that's a nice dress you have. Where are you folks from? Oh, yes. That sets up a program, that sets up that mass personality during the course of the evening for you. And you got that to play with. Good humor. A smile. My wife's been on my case now for 2 days. She said, you don't smile enough. I said, I don't feel good. I got the gas pain. And smile. I've had people, I've watched callers at conventions, well-known callers, and somebody had a little beef, and they come. I watched the caller this person brutalized him. I mean, she verbally chewed him up one side and down the other. And he just smiled at her and said, I'm really sorry that happened. It must be very difficult for you. And she kind of mellowed out and went away and said, I just wanted to get that off my chest. He said, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Rather than saying, get away from me, you bitch. I don't want anything to do with you. Yeah. And that happens too. So, being humorous. Joke telling, that's a real touchy subject. Joke telling. Sometimes we tell the wrong joke at the wrong time, and I think you really, really have to discriminate when it comes to joke telling or humorous remarks, because you really can offend people. You got to remember, there's some people out here that are pretty straight, religious people, and that's the way they are. And I think I really get uptight if I hear some caller come off with some, I would not use the B word, the bitch word here within a square dance group, but I would use it within this group so we know what it is. Now you know what it is. Okay. So joke telling. You know, there are several things. We have made a policy, and I think a lot of callers have, to stay off of religion, sex. What's the other one? What's the third one? I forget. Politics, right. There are 3 things you don't get into with a group. Somebody said to me, why on television they say hell and damn and all that. Why can't we say that in square dancing? We are unique. We don't do it in square dancing. We don't mix alcohol and drugs with square dancing. Several things that we do that are unique. And that's, I think, I think that attracts people to this activity, where we don't have to put up with sex and politics and all those other remarks that go on. So, as a good showman, be clean with it. I've got the filthiest mind in the world. I collect dirty jokes. But I'm very, very cautious about what I say in front of a group. I think it's important to you. It's important to the group. We're going to open up for questions, but go ahead. Yeah. Stand up. Yeah. Give me your name, where you're from. And
is this thing? Okay. Rod Bradish from Tokyo, Japan. Relating to one experience, you've mentioned music. You've also mentioned jokes as being not offensive. Well, you mentioned music as part of showmanship, and you mentioned jokes as not being offensive. You need to be careful of your, at least I had a not so nice experience in my younger days of calling, wrong selection of music. I was down south in what is colloquially known as the Baptist Bible Belt area. And it was an old record. I was trying to be a showmanship. I see them everywhere on the hi-hat label. And that one, I thought, I'd gotten a real good response up in Buffalo, my hometown, and I did it down there, and I'm getting this type thing. And I walked up to the caller that was my mentor after, and he says that maybe wasn't so good with this particular club that I was at, because that was the makeup of that club was rather, I don't know, they took the religion quite seriously, even outside the religious circles. So I might add that you need to be, from personal experience, I would think you need to be careful of your music selection. Nowadays, there's a lot of music on the country pop charts that Well, they can get there even if a lot of the words are knocked out for the movements. So
Right.
anyway, not to beat a dead dog, but that's
So
what I wanted to add.
we're suggestive, using suggestive music, of which you shouldn't. And again, we're back into that religious thing again. There are some songs that are very sacred to people, and you don't use them in that area. And I would rather not use them at all than try to, use it and have people upset with it. I think so we've run into several groups like a one-nighter where people requested not to use certain pieces of music that were suggestive, even Elvis Presley stuff. This was a fundamentalist Catholic group. Can you believe that? I didn't know it existed, but I found out about it. No suggestive music whatsoever. Very interesting. So, back to showmanship. If you have a negative situation, what do you do about it? Can you handle it? Can you turn it around and make it a positive situation? This is your job. This is part of showmanship. This is part of controlling that crowd, controlling those people. The sign of the moon, it might be the barometric pressure. There are many, many things that you have to consider with a group. And through your showmanship and your ability, you can make those changes, and you can do that. Okay? Always follow up the dance with many compliments projected to the dancers, and express your gratitude and thanks for the honor of serving that crowd. Always do that. Don't walk away and say, I'm the big shot. My name is Donnie Dingaling, and I'm the best. And I'm going to walk out now, and if you all would follow me as my flock, you can do it. So, all in showmanship, all in being thankful to that group, and being humble. Someone went to a large festival, and they'd never met Marshall Flippo before. And they wanted to see what he did. So they got up in the top of this Coliseum, got seats up there, and they wanted to see how Marshall Flippo works. Well, Marshall entered the door, kissing all the women, of course, all the way down, kissing women and thanking and shaking hands and going through that crowd. He got up to the stage. He took his records out and shuffled them like cards with no sleeves on them, still kissing women, thanking people, and doing all this business all at once, and called the greatest dance that you'd ever want to hear. That was showmanship. Of course it was. He took that crowd. He worked the crowd. He does it all the time. That's nice to do. It's a good feeling if you can get to a group and work the crowd and make them feel good about dancing and walk away. And this is part of showmanship. Okay.
Don't stand on the microphone. Thank you, Jerry. Jerry did mention it, and I forgot to mention it in the beginning. This session is being taped, so if you have a question, we need you to come to the microphone in the center so that it will be on a tape. I don't know what happened to Richard. He's disappeared on me here.
Hello. I've always wanted to do that entry. I have never dared to do it before, but... Oh, by the way, I brought my fan club. Well, I was asked here to talk about using musical instruments in calling. So I thought it might be hard to work on that for all this time. So, well, I'm going to start off a little about just about harmonicas. And this is a C harmonica. This is an E harmonica. This is an F harmonica. Now, this is a big harmonica. I use them for LP only. This is a small harmonica. It's for mini discs only. And you don't think somebody with this big mouth as I got could play on this one. But I figured I'm going to give it a try anyway. So, that's what the string is all about. It's good when you're nervous as I am right now, so I like this one. Is there any of you out there who's ever tried using an instrument while you're calling? There's one. Two. Now, there's a few of you. I think that if you do it right, if you practice before you do the job, and if you're going to use, say, like a harmonica or a guitar or something, you've got to make sure that when you play the square dance record, it's got to be on exact 45 RPM on the record, because otherwise it'll sound flat, because then you lower the tones a bit, so then it won't work very good. Here's a few ideas what you can play. You can play like harmonica, piano. That would be a bit hard to take with you, but guitar is a good instrument. Kazoo, that's easy to play too. Actually, one in my fan club here tried it once, and even he could do it. And look at my notes here. Yeah. Now I need this microphone stand. Can somebody help me, please? Jack.
The whole thing? No. Take the mic off and put it on the floor.
That's what I call teamwork.
Will that be okay, sir?
I'm not sure yet.
How much do you pay those guys?
Not enough, anyway. Have a seat. Well, those of you that don't have an instrument to play on, hopefully you got a brother or something you always can play on. So I figured I was going to try that today. It goes like this. A one, two, three, four. Key change.
think we're going to have to make a recommendation to CALLERLAB that they make video cassettes instead of musical cassettes for this one.
Well, those of you that don't have... Now we're into the subject you were talking about earlier. This is right on the limit, I think. And those of you that don't have a brother, an instrument, or a cousin you can play on, you can always play on your own ding-a-ling. Turn the tape off. Over to something completely else. Do you often think about when you get up on stage or when you're down talking to people, what kind of body language you use? There's some different kind of body language you can use that either makes you look better or it can make you look not very good. Here are a few examples.
Four ladies promenade inside. Back home, swing your man around and around. Join hands, circle to the left. Have a man left and weave the ring. I'm looking good from my head to my shoes. Swing your girl and promenade. I got a screwed attitude.
Now, that didn't look very good, did it? One thing is, this doesn't look very good, does it? Hands in pockets, not very good. Chain and keys and stuff like that I always take out before I start calling. And just like you said, Jerry, people don't like guys with a wise guy attitude. You got to make people feel like you're one of them and not someone up here. You got to make them feel comfortable with you. And you can do that by mentioning their name while they're dancing and encourage them and all of that. Never, ever, when you're calling, turn your back on the crowd. That doesn't look very good either. And here's one thing I forgot when I was doing this. This. I mean, you got to know what time it is and how long you've been calling, but I think it's wrong to do it like this. That says to the crowd, he's not interested in what he's doing. He doesn't really care to be here. He wants to go to the karaoke bar or something. He doesn't really care. When you're looking at the watch, do it like this. Nobody will notice. Here's another attitude. Turn on the record again. Four ladies promenade, walk come inside. Back home and swing your man around and around. Join hands, circle to the left. I don't want to left and weave the ring. I'm feeling good from my head to my shoes. Swinging promenade. I got no attitude. What can we say about that? Boring. That's it. Plain boring. people get bored with you. You got to show them enthusiasm. You got to be out there, give it all. You got to dare. You got to dare to try things and stuff like that. Here's another one, and that's a bit more difficult, I think.
Four ladies promenade, walk over inside. Back home, swing your right around and around. Join in, circle to the left. Left on the planet with the rain. I'm feeling good from my head to my shoes. Swing your girl and promenade. Ooh, 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 ooh. I got a shy attitude.
Yeah. You got a point there. Really. Yeah, fear, shy. Lots of callers are very shy. And might be very scared of the microphone. I was in the beginning. I was terrified of the microphone. Now I can't do without it. A few things to think of when you're shy or nervous is not to try to hide and try to even if you're nervous, try to look like if you're not. Try to fool them. Never hide behind tables and stuff like that. I bet most of you have experienced while you're squaring up a crowd, you don't get a full square way in the back. That's a boring part of the dance, isn't it? You're working on trying to get them up there, and everybody goes for a coffee break or water break or smoke, or they don't want to dance. Then you got to enthusiast those people in the back. Try to get them going and try to get the rest of the floor not to, start like this again. What time is it? I want to have a coffee break too. So here's what I do. And I'm not sure it works for everybody, but this is what I do anyway.
Now this is going to be advanced. Could somebody please hold the microphone?
What would I be without you?
Nothing.
These two guys taught me everything.
I never taught you this one.
I don't think you taught me this one either, but otherwise probably just about everything. Okay. You got to get tuned in first. This is the wrong key. I think this one's too. Yeah, not going to use that one.
Are you going to use
I can hold it myself now. Thank you. Thanks a lot. No, actually, I don't use all of that. That would be kind of hard to carry with you all the time. But one instrument is perfect to use. You could use the kazoo. That's easy to start playing on. Spoons, combs. Comb is a good one. Comb. You know, like them guys have used today. Well, how do you say it? Comb. Comb. Well, that's close to it anyway. Okay. So, square them up in the back. And I go. That works for me anyway. Thank you. Showmanship for me is to dare to make a fool out of yourself. I didn't know when I was running in here if that was going to work. So I figured I'll bring my fan club. I'm on the safe side. So you got to take your chances and learn from your mistakes. Nobody can ever ask you to be perfect for a start. You just got to dare to try. And that's about it, what I got to say. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Richard. You seen from Jerry, or you heard from Jerry a couple of things that don't necessarily have to do particularly with what we're calling, but just what we're doing while we're on the stage. And Richard's shown you some things that you can actually use. Well, he can use. I could never use all that stuff. I don't know if I'd fit up on a table either, but showmanship is pretty much divided into three major categories. You've seen a couple of them. The theatrical, I would almost call what Richard's doing with all this extra stuff here. What these guys are doing is definitely theatrical. Thank you, Jack and Robert, for helping Richard. Another area that you can take a look at, and it's probably something that you do without really thinking a lot about it, is the music that you select. Each of us has a whole box of records that we use. If you sit down and you listen to all this music that we have, each one of these records has got a little bit of flavor and its own identity to it. If you can take that and work with that record and the musical piece that's there and build up on that. Your patter records, each one of these things has got a little bit of a different character. And if you can get in there and find the character of that piece of music and build up on that, then that's one way you can increase your showmanship portion of your program. I have one patter record that I use that everybody that's ever heard it loves, and it's actually a polka piece of music. About the middle of the night, I'll pull out this polka thing, and everybody gets out there, and all of a sudden they're going. But I've never heard anybody else using this record. So it's unique for me to use that, and people identify this polka with me. And that's one way you can increase your reputation, is if you come up with different show pieces for different things. Now, the easiest music for us to build a show around is naturally our singing calls. How many people are natural singers? Natural. You know? You didn't cry when they slapped you on the bottom, you started singing. You know? Most of us are not born natural singers. We're screamers when we wake up the first time. Depends on how we're raised, what influences we run into as kids, how we're going to develop. I personally was involved in the church choirs, so I was always working with music as a child. So I don't have that much of a problem working with music. We have people, we run into people in the caller schools that have never sang a note. And they're 35 years old now. They've never even sang in a shower. So naturally, that person's going to have more trouble dealing with this music than I would, because I've been doing it all my life. But every one of us needs to sit down and work with the music. When you guys buy records, do you just go straight to your club and use it? Comes in the mail today, tonight's club night, I'm going to use this record tonight. Not normally. Normally you're going to have to sit down and you're going to have to practice. At least you're going to have to learn the text. You also need to be listening to the music, not only to the text, okay, where do I need to put the allemande left, and where do I got to do the swing, and this, that, and the other. You need to listen to the music itself. In that piece of music, there's going to be a specific character. Now, if you go and you ask any of the producers of the records, when they make their records, they look for little things that they can build into this music to make that record unique. And we need, as callers, to look for those unique items in the music, because this is where we can actually build our own performance for that record. It's not going to be the same thing if Jerry Story gets up and does his latest record on the stage. I watch it, go buy the record, run home, get on the stage, and do the exact same show. Sing the song exactly the same way, use all the same words. It's not going to be the same, because that's not my show. That's Jerry Story, or that's Tony, or that's John Kay. I'm not going to say his last name either. Each one of us has to find our own way of interpreting with that music and creating our own show. And that's with the music. None of us has actually touched on choreography. And this is another area that you can create your own unique show. Right now, it seems everywhere I go that dancers are really into these, you're home. Everybody likes these. You're running along there and all of a sudden, boom, you're home. This is what's come out of somebody. I don't know who dreamed this up, but somebody created a show with this, and it's taken off because the dancers love it. Right now in Europe, if you can do one tip a night, it's no allemande lefts, no right and left grands. It's just every time you're home, you're home, you're home, then you've made it for that night. And this is other areas that you can look at. You can look at gimmicks in your choreography. I called one last night, and I had a couple people right in the front square. They looked at me like I was crazy in the singing call. I called it swing through, boy run, wheeling deal, right and left through, half sachet, boxinette, change hands, left boxinette. What? Change hands again, swing your corner. Because it's not expected. Nothing wrong with it. It's actually called swat the flea, but nobody knows that. If I say left boxinette, everybody will do it, but they're wondering, and say, wait a minute, can you do this? Is this really legal? I'll do it, and in Germany on singing calls, I'll do it boxinette, change hands, once and a half. Swing your corner. And I've had dancers come up to me after the tip was over saying, can you teach me how to do that? And so I get up and I say, sure, it's really easy. You do a boxinette. Now you change hands once and a half. Swing your corner. Perfect. And then they're happy. But it's just little funny things that you can call that the dancers don't expect. And if you throw in those at certain times, you can't do this on every single resolution. You can't do it on every single pattern. You can't do it on every single singing call, because then you'll overdo it. So look for little things. What was the word yesterday? Research. This is a legal word for square dance callers. We all start from day one researching. Except in the beginning we call it stealing. But it's research. All of us research from other callers, from callers that we respect. We like their show. We go in, we look at their show, and we research. And you need to go out and do that. You can go out and watch other callers that you think their show is very, very good. Go out and watch what they do. Don't copy it. Don't say, well, I like what he does, I'm going to do the same thing. Take that home and figure out how can I use that for my own show. Take little pieces from here, take pieces from here. I came to CALLERLAB for the first time 2 years ago, and Jerry Murray did this session. And he did a little routine that he does with a puppet. I don't know if any of you were there in Louisville. He's got a record, I don't remember what the name of the record was now, Christmas record, I think. And he's got a little puppet that sings. The Chipmunks. Yeah? And I love that.
Listen with the front side of your cassette, please.
And about that time was when Hi-Hat released Bare Necessities. And I thought, now, this would be good. So I went out and I made a recording, and I had a little bear. It's only this big. This was not Balu, this was Bula. Because Balu's a big bear, so I got a Bula bear. And I had Bula bear sing on the music. And I did the same thing what Jerry Murray did, and I just adapted it for Bare Necessities. And the dancers, all of a sudden, in fact, it was Jerry Story and Tony Oxendine. They saw that for the first time, and they just almost fell over. Because they'd never seen anything like this. All of a sudden, this little bear singing. And nobody knew how I did that. Because I just went, and the bear was singing. In a real high voice. And then the bear called. Now, I talk to the bear all the time. Do you want to call? No, you can't call. No, you can't call. Swing. No, you can't call. Okay, I'll let you call. And all of a sudden, this little bear starts calling. Hit square, go for it. And and everybody's coming up after it's over and says, how'd you do that? Is there a tape recorder in that bear or what? How'd you do that? But it got everybody's attention. For 4 minutes, as long as that song goes, I had the attention of all 600 people in the room, to include Jerry Story and Tony Oxendine. Tony came up very next tip, and I had just laid the bear down on the table. And he's ready to call, and he saw the bear, and he picked it up. He said, sing, bear. Didn't do anything for him. Sing, bear. Damn bear. So in a span of about 10 minutes from the little show that I put on and the follow-up that Tony did, the people were roaring. We had taken the atmosphere in the room and it had gone up about 5 notches just for a little bitty show. And it was only 5 minutes. So if you can find little things like this to put all through your evening, you can imagine where your program is going to wind up. Okay, Richard mentioned it, and I wanted to tack onto it. One of the things that you can do that's the easiest is look at your dancers. Don't look at your notes, don't look at this, and don't look back here. Look at your dancers and look them right in the eyes. And then when you're looking at them, smile. You may think that dancers do not watch what you're doing on the stage because they're always going that way and then they're coming back. And believe me, they see everything you do. Even when they're promenading that way, they know what you're doing up here. They got eyes in the back of their head. So it's really the best thing you can do and the simplest thing you can do, look your dancers in the eyes. And then smile at them. If you know their name, say hello to them. And they'll go home happy. Their evening is saved. It was a great evening for them because the caller said hello to them on the stage. Now I can look out there, and if I just said hello, nobody out here knows who I'm looking at exactly. Now the dancers see that and they think he's looking right at me. And he said hello to me. And you can do the same thing from the stage. And this is just little tricks you can do. This is what performers do all the time. They don't ever look people right in the eyes from the stage. They look right over the top of their heads. Because nobody can tell exactly where you're looking when you do that. But they think you're looking right at them. Okay? We're going to open it up for some questions now. I'm sure somebody's got some questions for Richard over here. Or Mr. Dingling, or whatever it was. Anybody got any questions? Anybody want to play the harmonica? Richard's giving private lessons right after this session. If you have a question, please come up to the mic so we get it on the tape.
Could I borrow your mic for a minute?
I need a square. I'd like to have a little demonstration here.
Sure.
Of something that's
Can we get a square up here?
It's entering our world of square dancing, and for whatever reason, because of modern technology. So I'd like you to, if I get you to help me out a little bit here, and see something, whether or not it's positive or not. It might be positive sometimes, but other times it might be time to avoid.
You want to come up here or you want to stay down there?
Okay, now I'm going to ask you to help me. You got a singing call that you can put on? Because this is my microphone right here, and I'm going to be talking into this microphone while, anything, whatever you're comfortable with, because you're going to be doing the voice. Okay. In our modern technology here, we've got these little things called wireless microphones, right? Some have headsets, especially those that are also doing line dancing before or after the dance. So we've got all these nice wireless things that you could be in the next room and still be calling to this square. Okay, so here's some of the things that a lot of the callers are doing, and it's happening, and I don't really know totally whether we want to discourage it. I would discourage it because it made me feel funny to get involved in some of this. So you're going to be starting the square, but his voice is mine. Now, I'm the one that's calling, but he's doing it.
I don't understand that, but... Oh, I'm in the other room. Is that what it is?
Oh, I've got a wireless microphone. This is my microphone, and what you hear is this microphone right here.
Oh, okay. Now, I wasn't planning on singing this morning. Where's the bear? Where's my bear? I'll just get a long intro, and this is not a good one. Four ladies chain. Hey, you can turn a girl around and sing. You chain the lady home now. Hey, join hands, circle to the left or right. Living out a minute up with a corner now. Boxing at home. Swing a little girl in your promenade her tomorrow. She don't matter to me, 'cause I've been thinking about you. Head square through. Do side do the corner the lady one time round. You swing through tonight, boy, you better run right. Half time, scoot back and move on now. You do a single hinge ladies tread. Swing through now, swing a little girl in your promenade. Take her back home.
Okay, that's the idea that I just wanted to see. That we've got a lot of this wireless equipment, and we've all got it. I've got the full set also. But, pardon? Oh, it's not coming through this mic? Oh, okay. Well, yes, all right. Yeah, it didn't. The video portion of that tape didn't come through. Okay. But what I was doing was following the square, and I stood right there outside of the square, and I looked in 3 inches behind somebody's head while they're waiting for the rest of the square through or whatever. And then I watched the square for maybe 64 beats of music. Then I went on to another square, and I watched that one. Then I got went off to the side, and I sat down, and I'm still singing along. The music's still playing. The hall is still dancing. But where's the leader? There's an awful different feeling in my mind when that leader's not there. I want that leader up there, and I want to know that he's up there leading me, that he's paying attention to what I'm doing, and that he's looking at my square. So he's worth that other square. He's not. I'm all of a sudden just another thing happening in time, and I mean nothing. I need that leader up there leading me along. I want to know that he's paying attention. I might be in the back 12th square back, and I want to know that he's still up there looking to make sure that I'm okay, that my square is taken care of. And when he goes and sits off on the side or something, he's still singing. It's coming out just as great as possible. His voice is right on the beat and all, but it still feels different because I don't have a leader anymore. I'm singing to a recording. Or I'm dancing to a recording. Okay, and I get a different feeling, and the technology, because of the wireless stuff, we've got a lot of people. Oh, well, we're done with the square. But I've got that different feeling, and this may be nice occasionally. It might be good for a gimmick, and I feel it is a gimmick. But I've seen some of it happen half the night. The guy is down there. He's He calls a square through, and he's got a headset on. He goes through and cuts out one of the guys and walks through his portion of it, mixing him with a square. That's overactive, I think, but it might be good for somewhere.
Okay, thank you. This goes into an area of showmanship that all of us have to learn, and you won't do it the first time you get up on the stage and start calling, and that's to know, what do I want to do? What can I do? But most important, when should I do it, and when should I stop? You need to know all of that for all of these little gimmicks and things that you're going to do. Even with the musical instruments, it can be too much, and you need to know when to back off. What he's talking about, wandering around on the floor with a wireless microphone, that can be a good gimmick once in an evening, but you don't want to do that all night long. Hartmut.
Yeah, Hartmut Niemann, Erlangen, Germany. What Carl said, I think we have so many pieces of equipment and whatever we have, and many start becoming a toy, a caller's toy, instead of a caller's tool. I have never really worked with a wireless microphone, but I think it must be great for teaching, because I can call for my crowd, go to the last square, set them in information, show them something, have a student who does not know how to square through, I can be there, help him. So I take the wireless microphone as a tool to be able to assist him where he is and sort of being on the stage. But if, as we saw it now, it's just used for going out and having a cup of coffee while they do a grand square, I think that's not what it's supposed to. And you can do it as a joke, but it's not a toy. And it's like these chorus things that were on vogue for a while. It may be great if you use it the right way, but if it becomes a toy, you can bore dancers really quickly.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Here comes one, maybe.
Jerry Hardy, Stone Ridge, New York. I have used the wireless mic as an effective tool at the very end of a dance, say for a closer, and I have gone out into the squares and gone to the center, say on a singing call like Beautiful Noise, and it's really very, very effective if you can go in and out around the squares. You know your figure very, very well, of course. And the dancers think it's fabulous. They just love to see you out there among them at the same time that they're dancing and using it. It works.
You do this at the end of the evening? But not, do you do it every night? No. This is what we were saying. All of these little things that you dream up or you find or you research or whatever, you have to modify it for yourself, and then you have to know when is the best time for me to use that piece of information or that piece of show in my program. Well, I probably wouldn't want to start out with something like this on the very first tip of the evening, because that would kind of confuse everybody. They don't even know who's calling, and he's not up on the stage. He's wandering around in the squares. And so you've got to have the right place to do it. Yes, sir.
I'm on a crusade, and this has very little to do with showmanship. It does and it doesn't. But I want to pass this on for what it's worth. Now, I've kind of neglected to do this. My wife's on my case about this. When you sit down to eat in the evening and you have the first bite of food in your mouth, the phone rings, right? Hi, I'm with the Acme Siding Company, and your house has been chosen to be sided. What do? Hang that sucker up. Don't hang up. I'm so happy you called. Are you interested in square dance lessons? We have square dancing at blah, 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 blah.
That's under salesmanship, I think. That was another area that we didn't touch on, because normally you would think we don't really need to touch on it in a group of people like we have here, callers and callers' partners, and that's how we dress on the stage. It can make or break you as a caller, as far as a showman, how you dress. You can be like Robert. This will definitely give you a name if you show up at a dance dressed like this. It took forever to get him to change and put on long pants. This is the way he called his first dance. But you need to keep in mind, and this may cross over into the leadership side a little bit, but the way we dress on the stage, one, is going to give the people an impression about us, but it's also going to be how those people are going to think, well, if that's the way to dress, that's the way I should dress. You have some distinctive clothing. You have some people that wear the sequins, and they wear fancy clothes, wear hats. The hat could be a problem if the dancers say, well, hell, he's got a hat, I can wear one too. Because normally we don't wear a hat when we're dancing. Normally you don't wear a hat when you're indoors. Unless you're female. That's right. Females don't have to take their hat off. That's right. You need to keep in mind. Do what?
Or Jewish.
Or Jewish. Do they wear cowboy hats? I don't know. I'm in Germany. Any other questions? On the mic, please, so everybody can hear it. You want to borrow Jack and Robert? But they're easy. Any other questions or comments? Anybody got any showmanship techniques that you use that you could share with the group? A specific thing that you do in your program? Does anybody do anything?
Phyllis Gilson from Adrian, Michigan. One of the things in my classes, every once in a while, once in a blue moon, one of us makes a mistake and goofs up. and I have this thing that I always do. Oh my God, that's the first mistake I ever made. And of course they all won. And it goes on through the evening. And we have a lot of fun with that. Sometimes I'll make a mistake, and if I don't say it, they will. That's the first mistake she ever made.
Does anybody believe that?
Dan Koft from New Jersey. Every so often, we've all had it happen where your mouth does not want to do what your brain said to say, and you tumble over, and everybody knows you just fumbled. Well, what I do, because of where people on the tape can't see this, I have a beard, I'll just put my hand up on my beard, wiggle a little bit, say, my beard's on too tight.
I'm going to write that one down.
Rod Bradish, Tokyo. Even over in Japan, a lot of the Japanese can speak, reasonable amount of English. They're not going to carry on a 10-minute conversation necessarily, but they know enough of the square dance terms. Getting your dancers involved with your calls is an old stunt, and it can include either something like square through, 4 hands, something like that, or even the sound effects. My home club, I'll go square through 4, and I get an instantaneous echo of 4. And a little bit of this goes a long way too, but I'll get my dancers involved basically with your calling. You leave out obvious parts they can fill in, or the sound effects type of thing. You get it in plus, like triple scoot, Rudy toot toot, stuff like that. But I've found that has a certain degree of success, for myself and at the anniversary dances, the different big festivals too.
Thank you. Anybody else got something that they could tell us what they do? Robert, what do you do other than dress funny? Nothing. Yes.
I'm Mel Estes from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and my name really is Donnie Dingaling. And when I make a mistake, I just chime right in and say, take that step with a grain of salt. That was your stupid caller's fault, and just keep right on going. And they get a kick out of that.
Can you write that down? Buy the tape. It's on the tape.
I'm Nasser Shuker from Alabama, Louisiana. And I try to get the dancers involved. They have a dollar store in my town, and you can buy these little kazoos that's 8 for $1. So for my average dance, it only costs $2 to buy everyone a kazoo. And you pass them out and get them to play along and to play the kazoo during the tip.
I'm Dave Gibson from Indiana. I just wanted to relate a little thing here to you all, so you might be able to use it one of these days, particularly as payback. What happened, myself, Larry Cole, and I, and Rick Allison were doing a dance, and right in the middle of the patter is just starting. And I've been catching it all evening from this guy about, well, boy, your hair is terrible. Long hair, curly hair, blah, blah. All night long. Getting ready to start a tip, and this man looks over and he says, well, I don't know if I can call somebody with hair like yours. And I just started in, and he says, I ain't calling with you. Dropped his mic and walked off the stage. Rick Allison standing beside him, and he says, well, I ain't calling either. Dropped his mic. Now, we got a floor full of people. And I'm standing up, come on, guys, you know. I said, and they're back behind the curtain. We ain't coming out with you. So I figured the show's got to go on. So I started in calling, and here comes these two yahoos with wigs. So if any of you are doing a dance with Rick Allison or Larry Cole, get even. But it worked very nicely, and we had the whole crowd the rest of the night, I guarantee you.
That's good little tips, you know. That's little props. That's theatrical showmanship. It's something that you do. It takes this long, and you've got the people, and you can really build up from there. Yes?
Halt mit Niemann. One thing that works fine if you don't overdo it is this kind of running gag that come over and over again. And the Swedish guys had one thing for when I started dancing about 5 years ago about the record label. Am I allowed to mention the label? They came, and especially Paul Bristow from them, whenever he came up the stage, he had one of these records, put it out of the sleeve, said, this is a Sting record. They are all black, and they all have a hole in the middle. This came over for almost a year until nobody could hear it. But I think at least these calls became quite popular. And another sort of running gag works very well. Some of the Germans did it a couple of times when two of them are on the stage. The one that is far away from the equipment would say, James, the needle, please.
I missed that dance. Who was that? No, don't tell me. But as you can see, this is probably a session that you could really take a lot of time if you really wanted to dig into every single little aspect of it. Here we got another question, or
well, I was just thinking. I have two little things I picked them up somewhere. It's not my original idea, but my wife. Yes, we researched. Oh, Bill Donahue, Pensacola, Florida. My wife is not known as a caller. She does not call, but every once in a while we'll put her on with me as a beginner caller, and we use a record which is on Red Boot, which has a real low voice at the end of the song. It's real low, like that. So every time that little voice comes in, I put the mic in front of her, and she does that part. So they get the impression she's going to be calling, but she's not calling. She sounds like a big bear.
Is your wife here?
No, she's not here. And the other thing is that, and in the same situation, we are saying that she's beginning and learning to call. So we set up the calls by calling and getting into positions where all she has to do is say right and left through, and she does it real dull. Right, left through, and everything goes along fine, except it's only that. But she's learning to call. But that's all she ever says. Right, left through.
She's got a lot of choreographic variation there.
Sometimes in the showman part of it, where you have, I know this caller and I know this caller, and we kind of have our gags and our things that we're doing, if that disrupts the dance, you've got a problem. Sometimes heckling each other. We know each other real well, and we start heckling. Well, a lot of these dancers don't know that we know each other real well, and you get into that little bit, and you're going to turn off some people. And I guess I could say it in a very crude way, don't screw the floor.
Is that it? I thought maybe there was more coming. The only thing that I could really recommend that you do is one, sit down, listen to your music, find the best way, look for unique things in your records that you can use. Look for ways that you can make a singing call unique when you do it. When the dancers hear that singing call, you'd like them to say, hey, that's the way Kenny Reese does that singing call. That's Kenny Reese's singing call. Doesn't matter who does it. You want the dancers to say that that's your song. You know, take a look at some of your choreographic modules, things that you can put in kind of as a surprise to the dancers. And then take a look. Maybe you want to get a kazoo, or you want to borrow his brother or something. But I'd like to thank Jerry Helt. How about a nice hand for Jerry Helt? And Richard Bjork. So we're finished a couple of minutes earlier than we should be, so I guess you get a longer coffee break. Thank you for coming. Okay, lunch. Good. That's even better.
You're making square dancer jokes.
Yeah. I said, there's two ethnics. See it, Showmanship. Let me sure to find it.